On this week's show, we highlight how student athletes have grown in their faith during their time on Liberty Mountain.
From Eli August's life-changing decision to Zach Cleveland's growth off the court, and a story of second chances for former Flame Asa Chapman. You're watching Flame Central, and it starts now.
This is your home for all things Liberty Athletics. Welcome on into Flame Central. Thanks so much for joining us. As always, alongside Emily Austin, I'm Matt Warner.
Yeah, we have some inspirational stories coming your way, but first we have some big news to share about us here at Flame Central.
Yeah, if you currently watch this show on an over-the-air TV station, like say in our affiliate in Charlotte or Lynchburg or Raleigh, we're very thankful for your viewership over the years, but this is the final week we'll be airing on these affiliates.
But don't worry, we've got you covered. You can still find us other places moving forward. The easiest way to watch us is on YouTube. You can find our show each week on the Liberty Flames YouTube channel. Subscribe to the channel and you'll be notified whenever new content is available.
Yeah, and the other way you can watch is on ESPN+. Just search Flame Central and you can find all of our shows. So whether it's YouTube or ESPN+, stay connected with the show, and we hope you'll continue to watch each week just on the new platform.
Okay, now let's get back to this week's show. We here at Flame Central always focus on the intersection of faith and sports. But today, we're going even deeper, sharing stories of Liberty athletes and how they grew in their faith during their time here on the mountain.
Yeah, we'll start with the story from the gridiron. One of the most incredible moments for any team is when a walk-on player is surprised with a scholarship. We see the videos on social media all the time. They get you right here every single time. But this past season, one of the benefactors of just such a moment was at the end of fall camp. His name, Eli Auguste. As you're about to see, that's not the only life-changing moment or good news he's found here at Liberty.
Eli, take us through the other day when at practice when you put out there and able to earn a scholarship. Just what was that day like, that moment like for you?
Felt like kind of like a dream come true. But I had like about, I think, 7 or 8 Division I scholarships, but I didn't really want those schools because I took a couple official visits. They didn't seem like they loved football as much as I did at the time. They just seemed like more of school and partying and all that, and I was just like, I wasn't really feeling it.
As Eli looked for schools with an ascending football program, Liberty's success caught his attention. He would apply, was accepted, and would begin attending, all without a guaranteed spot on the team or a scholarship. However, Eli would prepare himself for tryouts later that fall semester.
All summer and all September and October, I was just working out. It was a little bit hard with just like keeping up with the money, keeping up with the bills and all that. At first, it was definitely like a nervous, like butterflies in my body, thinking like, should I really do this? Should I pass up money to not make money to try and work my way up? But I definitely had to take a leap of faith and just trust in myself and that like I can really do this, to understand that it'll be okay and it'll work out.
Y'all doing good up here? Good to see y'all. Man, when I get to heaven, that's the hair I'm gonna have, dude.
After trying out in October, Eli began the spring semester, still waiting to hear if he'd made the team. During this waiting period, he began taking a required class called Evangelism 101, taught by Dr. David Wheeler.
When I found out I was taking Evan, I was like, I didn't really know what it was. So I was just like, okay, whatever. So I would go to Evan and I would always show up late, and I'm just like, with my hood on, not really wanting to go in. And Dr. Wheeler used to always tell me like smile, put a smile on your face. And he would always like shake my hand when I'd come in and just ask me how my day's going. Ever since then, I would like wait after class to just talk to him. And then he would always like have to talk to a bunch of kids, but I was always wanted to be like the last person to talk to.
We would talk after class, and I'd get there, walk around, and just touch base with him. And Eli would walk with me, when I would go to my next class, or he'd walk with me, sometimes all the way back up to my office. And we would just talk as we're going. And through those conversations, I found out that Eli wasn't a Christian.
Growing up, it was just like go to church every Sunday. We didn't really pray every day, but most of the times I would only talk to God on Sundays. as a kid, football was just always going good for me. And like the only thing that was really a major factor was the financial issues. And like it never really dawned on me that like God is real and that God is in your life and that he's helping you in your life.
During their walks, Dr. Wheeler would continue to pour into Eli and learn more about his story until one day, the conversation led to a life-changing decision.
And so sitting in my office that day, I walked through the gospel and just said, Eli, are you ready to surrender your life to Christ? I'm not talking about getting religion. I'm not talking about just improving your life. I'm talking about, are you willing to give your life, everything that you are, into God's hands and say, okay, from this point on, God, I want you to take my life and I want you to multiply yourself through me. Are you willing to surrender yourself to that? That's exactly what Eli did.
He said, you could always repent. You could always talk to God. You could always say sorry and God would always listen. But that definitely helped me out. Like I was wrestling for a little minute, like for probably a month and a half, a whole month and a half, I was wrestling, like thinking like, is this the right thing to do? Is this not the right thing to do? But in the end, it definitely ended up paying off.
And as it just so happened, that same week, he received the news he'd been waiting on from Liberty Football.
I will never forget, I got a text from Dr. Wheeler. And the text basically said, hey, I just led one of your football players to Christ in my office. And so I looked at the name and I texted him back and I said, Doc, you must have the wrong sport because this guy's he's not with football. And so that week we had actually taken on some walk-ons. So I went and looked at the list and there it was Eli.
I called my mom at the time and then I called my best friend right after and then I told them both like I made the team. And at first I didn't realize all the blessings that were there. But then as the time came, I started to realize all the blessings that were coming.
Over the next 2 years, as Eli's relationship with God grew,
Eli, I baptize you in the name of the Father and of the Son.
So did his impact as a walk-on for the Flames. He would continue to work multiple jobs to pay for school, trusting that God would provide. Then, heading into the 2024 season, head coach Jamie Chadwell told the team at the end of practice,
Eli catches the ball, he's on full scholarship.
So everybody's real excited about it, and then their sun's out and it's bright. I put him right in the sun, but I knew he was going to catch it. It wouldn't have mattered. It wouldn't have mattered if you threw up a ping pong ball. He would have caught that. You know, it was meant to be. It was his time. And majority of the guys, when he caught it, man, he ran towards the other end zone, and they've seen it. They've seen the work he's putting in. They see every day what he shows up and does. Pretty special time.
They're saying that Dr. Wheeler from
It was a powerful thing to watch him do. It's always a powerful thing to watch someone come to Christ. But I know God's going to do great things through Eli's life.
Thanks to our Josh Quigg for producing that great story, and so cool to know like Eli's life forever changed now because of his decision to follow Christ. And I like that you see Dr. Wheeler pouring into him. Like we credit coaches and athletes so much here at Liberty, but the faculty as well at this school, they pour so much into their students, and that was a great example of that.
I love how Eli just stuck with the process. He trusted the Lord despite his financial insecurities. Yeah. And then it's just the cherry on top, seeing him awarded that scholarship. Those are just the best moments.
Such a cool moment. All right, hey, we have to take a quick time out, but when we come back, we'll hit the hardwood and learn more about Zach Cleveland's faith journey.
And how former Flame Asa Chapman found a new life from a second chance. That's when Flame Central returns.
Welcome to Liberty University's online programs, where living out your calling with integrity is what you train to do. And getting ready for the future doesn't mean missing out on the now. Because a university is more than buildings and books. And an education should set you free, not fence you in. Welcome to Liberty's global campus, where distance learning was pioneered and evolved into one of the top-ranked schools in the nation. Where protecting your budget, your time, and your education isn't just a theory, it's our priority. Here, degrees in your field reflect industry demands and help you get ahead of the competition. Where college comes to you, but you can come to college too. Game day, homecoming, graduation day. Your school, your values, your experience, your choice. Welcome to Liberty University, where we train champions for Christ.
At Liberty University, we understand life can be unpredictable, and when you need a resilient career, your education should withstand any test. So we've made sure the degree you need is within reach by freezing one of the lowest tuition rates in the nation for 8 years and counting, and giving scholarships, discounts, and credit for work you've already done. Because we're proud of what you do. We've done this for over 30 years, and we know how to help. We're here to help you.
Welcome back to the show. Here at Liberty, the mission is to train champions for Christ. But the journey each person takes in order to find Christ can be very different. And that's the focus of our stories today. If you've watched Liberty basketball the past few seasons, you know how important Zach Cleveland has been to their success. The guy literally does everything on the basketball court. He's the ultimate team player. And yet, as you're about to find out, while he may be a team guy, he plays the game for just one person.
In the Good News Bible, Proverbs 29:25 says, "It is dangerous to be concerned with what others think of you. If you trust the Lord, you're safe." And I've kind of took that verse and prayed about it, thought about it before every game, and just realized who I'm playing for. And I think the audience of one thing really has a different meaning when you truly believe it.
We have 3 children, and he stood out because he was competitive from the get-go. When he was in kindergarten, he just knew he was going to win the race that the school was running. So that means he's running against 5th graders when he's a kindergartner. They said, go. Well, he bolted out in front of the 5th graders. You know, I am going to win this race. And you could just see in his face, that's Zach Cleveland. I'm going to win.
Zach clearly had a love for sport and competition that would be on full display from a young age.
He sat and watched me coach basketball, and what I found unique about him, he didn't sit and get it bored and play with the toys on the side. He was at the baseline watching the practice.
I would be like 6 years old and just sitting in the sideline watching 2-hour practices, like with my mouth open, drooling, like watching just them run through plays and stuff like that. So I think I've always had that love for basketball.
And Zach didn't just have love for the game. He had the talent to go with it.
In 7th, 8th grade, when he was getting more involved in AAU activities, and you could see that he belonged out there, he always made his teammates better. And he always made his team better when he was out there. And I thought, well, he'll find a place. If he wants to play, he'll find a place on a team.
It wouldn't be until Zach's sophomore season of high school, in the midst of the COVID pandemic, that he would catch the eye of Liberty Associate head coach Derek Johnston.
I do remember the clip where I'm like, yeah, that dude can see. He knows how to play. Someone throws it to him, the ball barely touches his hands, and he quick one more. So I'm like, yep, he can see. And then you keep watching and you see his competitiveness, his athleticism, his toughness. I was like, yeah, I think he's one of us.
And they recruited me hard after that. But it was all phone calls. No one ever got to see me play in person. And so I still remember one specific moment was when they were in March Madness about to play Oklahoma State in the bubble or whatever it kind of was.
Derek called and said, would you do a Zoom call with us while we're at the NCAA tournament? And I just thought, that seems weird.
I mean, there's not a much better recruiting tool than like, hey, we're at the tournament, look at us, you know?
When we got off the call, I remember saying, the coaches, I can't believe they took their time away from watching film to do a Zoom call with us.
That was pretty intentional, I felt like, and I felt like that showed how much they wanted me. And so that was a big kind of part of my recruitment process. I was like, well, these guys really want me.
But soon Zach discovered that the exhilaration of playing Division I basketball would also come with plenty of frustration, namely in the form of external pressures and criticism that could easily bring him down.
A player like him who has such expectations for himself, obviously for our team, in a public position, you're just getting an onslaught of things all the time. I think all of us, we're in a performance-based industry, so it's hard. Like, how do we live in that friction?
If you live by their praises, you'll die by their criticism. That's what Coach McKay always told us. And I felt that in full blast because the applause felt so good, but then you have a bad game, you look on social media and that eats you up. And that feeling was one of the worst feelings I've had in my life.
And so, knowing that something needed to change, at the end of the 2023-24 season, Zach surrendered to a purpose bigger than basketball.
Particularly over the past year, I think his faith has really grown a lot.
Just being able to find something to put my hope in, and I started believing what God said about me and really reading, writing down like who God says I am. Once I started believing that, like my life completely changed. I think you could kind of see it on the court this year. Just the joy I'm having.
To Cleveland, dunks it right down the paint.
I see him being at peace, and then I actually see him love the game more because it doesn't bring him the frustration, and that's what's so refreshing.
There's a statement you'll hear around our program like, it's not truth that transforms, it's trusted truth. And he has the audacity now to operate out of his convictions. And it's been really cool to see those things grow together with his competitiveness, his ability to be a thermostat. He has such influence for our team and our campus, and it's easy to know why when you get around him.
There's no better feeling than becoming the person that God's created you to be. And I think I was way off track my first couple years, and so I'm finally starting to see that path, the narrow road, and being able to live in that.
So happy to have Zach here on the mountain. Matt, we see it time and time again. Athletes coming in, thinking that they're identified by their sport, but then learning here at Liberty their worth is in Jesus and in so much more. And you can kind of see that freedom of how he's playing on the court.
No doubt. And this is the value of when you find a great place and a great culture like they have here with Liberty basketball, of staying there for multiple years.
Right.
You don't see that as much these days, but you see the growth, not just in his game, but in who he is as a person as well, year over year over year. And credit Zach for sticking with it.
Can't wait to see what that team is able to do this upcoming season. All right, we have to take one final break, but when we return, the story on how Liberty stood by Asa Chapman during a dark chapter.
And what the former Flame is doing with that second chance today. More Flame Central coming up next. Welcome back to Flames Central. In today's show, we're focusing on stories of athletes and how they grew in their faith during their time here on the mountain. You know, in life, not everyone gets a second chance. Not everyone gets a shot at redemption. But here at Liberty, there's a focus on forgiveness and helping people move beyond their mistakes whenever possible. Former Flames football player Asa Chapman has experienced this, and his story has turned out far greater than he ever could have imagined.
The first time I can say that I fell in love with football was when I was at a very young age. Initially, what attracted me to football was just the sport and the roughness of it.
6'5", 380 every bit.
Asa Chapman would face many challenges growing up in Linden, New Jersey.
It was a rough neighborhood. We struggled as a family when I was young. There were a lot of, drugs and those types of things around when I was a kid. So my early life was really a lot of turmoil. I did live with my biological mother. She was a young lady herself, and she did struggle with drugs and just overall life in general. So a lot of times I had to grow up fast and be an adult when I was young before my time.
And yet, despite the challenges he faced, he would excel on the football field. So much so that he received a scholarship to Liberty University. And as a Flame, he continued to find success on the gridiron.
I was all conference for 3 out of the 4 years of my career.
But that would all be derailed prior to his senior season in 2011.
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of follow everybody right now. There you see that.
I had a knee injury that sidelined me for a couple months. Right before camp, I re-injured the same injury, which was pretty devastating for my senior season.
Frustrated and looking for answers, Asa would turn to what he knew from his childhood.
As I became an adult myself, I really didn't have much guidance. And I would say I was reaching a point of fame to where I was dealing with a lot of things that were unfamiliar to me. I really didn't understand how to cope well. I was using those drugs to cope with difficulties that I was having adjusting to my life. And during that time, it was really difficult for me.
And it was about to get more difficult. Following fall camp his senior season, Asa would be pulled over and police would find drugs in the car. He would be arrested and suspended indefinitely from the football team. His life seemed to be falling apart, but there were those at Liberty who refused to give up on him.
During that time, when I was arrested, God saw fit to surround me with people, such as Christy Bites, that cared about me, because I was my own worst enemy at that point.
We are all not cut from the same bolt of cloth. We all have different experiences, and my experiences and Asa's experiences growing up were not the same. And yet, I felt very called to come beside him and to continue to walk with him during that chapter or season in his life. And that's just what it was. It was a season. That was not his defining moment, and we were not going to allow that to be his defining moment. And that kept being the message that we were sending to him. This is not your defining moment. Your life is ahead of you. We're looking forward, not backwards. So we're going to do, and we're going to come alongside you and encourage you to do all of the things that the university requires, that society requires, in order for you to redeem yourself and to move forward with your life.
Everybody here at Liberty University just kind of insulated me and gave me the ability to rebuild myself, as well as, refocus on what was important to me. I was dealing with a lot of mental issues. Liberty not only provided, but gave me resources to where I was able to receive therapy.
It was a chance for us to demonstrate who we are as a university. We're about redemption. We use athletics as a tool to share Jesus. And then the other thing is restoration. So for me, as the chaplain, obviously I was disappointed because he was projected to play in the NFL. That's how good Asa was. But for me as the chaplain, my responsibility was to love him, encourage him, believe in him, help him. Just like as a football player, you make a mistake, you don't kick him off the football team. You help him learn from his mistakes on the football field. Well, the same thing is true in life.
It really wowed me because, It was amazing to see a bunch of people that don't really have a personal investment in me show so much interest in my well-being. So it really changed how I looked at the world. It also changed how I viewed my relationship with God, I would say, and Jesus Christ. At the time, I really wasn't very religious. I looked at life as just football. Everything was about football, which kind of led to me slacking in other areas. But just seeing how people surrounded me and protected me as well as helped me and picked me up really was a symbol of God's grace.
After his time at Liberty, Asa would enter the corporate world. But in 2023, an opportunity arose to return to his alma mater.
We had some positions come open in academic affairs for athletics, and Asa has just grown so much personally, but also professionally, and has achieved so much. I'm thinking maybe we can get him to come back. And so I sat down and had a talk with him and said, I really think this could be that pivotal moment in your life where you can come in and you can be an agent of change. And he came back and he was able to join our staff, and the impact and the connections that he's making with all of our students is really unbelievable. And I think it's a true testament of what we're called to do as Christians.
When she called me with that opportunity, it was almost like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. If I could just help one athlete avoid some of the turmoil and the trouble that I had, I feel like my life would be complete. That's what my purpose is. My life is where it is right now because I received a second chance. Second chances are really important because as humans, none of us are perfect, and it's really important to sometimes show a little grace to someone because God always shows us grace.
Where would I be if someone hadn't given me a second chance? So for us, it was exciting to see the way the university responded because this was a young man who made a bad choice, but we were going to help him to learn from it so that now he can become a successful father, a successful husband. We have an opportunity to demonstrate to him that we not only believe that God is going to use what he's been through to help him, but we're going to be a part of that transformation process. And all I can say is, to God be the glory because of what God has done in his life and what God is doing through him now. And I always say that we all have a story. And the key is to let God take our story, let God make it his story, so that we can help somebody else with their story.
Thanks to our Helmut Montoya for that great story. It's just such a blessing to have Asa here on the mountain. You never know if a student athlete is relating to him or if he can help them through their own adversity in life.
Absolutely. Great asset for Liberty Athletics. Hey, we're about out of time. As always, for any stories you might have missed or maybe you want to see again, libertyflamecentral.com.
And don't forget, Flame Central Podcast comes out every Monday. For Matt, I'm Emily. We'll see you next week.